Hello, everyone. Today we have a guest, India's first growthpreneur, who has transformed thousands of mid-career professionals and who has helped thousands of mid-career professionals to start their business around their USP. This person is from a poor background, born and back up in a poor family, and of course not from a hi-fi English medium background. But he has started his career in corporate world and reached up to the top 5% of the people. And he was working as an assistant vice president and earning a 7-digit salary. Then after that, what has happened? Let us understand from Mr. Raakesh Rana. Let me welcome Mr. Raakesh Rana to our 3X show. Rakeshji, welcome. Welcome to 3X show. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sumesh, for inviting me on this show.
Yes. So it was, first of all, thank you so much for your time, because I know your schedule and how it is going. And within this schedule, you have given me this time. It is really, I'm so thankful for that. And, since it is very time limited, let us go directly to the questions, because I wanted to get some of the, knowledge, and it will be definitely helpful for the people who are watching also. So let me ask you first, Rakeshji, how was the corporate journey? Because we are completely, interested in that, and of course, sales part as well. So, what can I know? May I know that how was your corporate journey?
So, corporate journey as such was very, very different for me. Coming from a small town and a humble family where people were not speaking English per se, reaching into the corporate itself was a big achievement for us. And when we reached to the corporate on the first few days as an engineer trainee, you are actually getting the orientation of the different departments, and
Yes.
many of the people were kind of struggling to understand, oh, now we have come from the engineering and suddenly we are now going into learning the so many different departments of the business, which was overwhelming to many of them. On
Yes.
the other part, I was probably a different person, because first and foremost I had this challenge of communicating in English in a big way. While I had learned a lot during my engineering by referring to the dictionary, but still it was a curiosity which was driving me, because throughout my engineering I had done one thing, that is to be curious about everything. So I was asking a lot of questions which was not gelling well with the other graduate trainee who were actually trying to understand what is wrong with this guy, why is he asking so many questions. Now, from that point onwards till the time I left my corporate journey, that one factor of learning, curiosity, remained the constant with me. The reason is that curiosity has actually given me the chance to excel in everything that I was doing. And one of the biggest success that I would put it in my corporate journey is that regardless of my designation, regardless of my position where people were looking at, I was able to bring the respect from the people, not only from my seniors, but also from my colleagues, teammates, as well as the reason was very simple, that I was very eager to learn from them. I was very eager to actually listen to them. And that is one thing which I believe it is required for every corporate leader today, and more so in the pandemic time that we have passed through in 2020 while we are ending this, and also for the various functionals that they lead. And that is what is the key to success of this corporate journey.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And may I know, like, what was that turning? Why you decided then when it was going like, on an expected way, like so-called, the other people, maybe majority of the corporate world will be looking to that kind of a journey, and you have reached up to that level. And from there, what was that point where you decided to quit this?
Absolutely. I mean, this turning point is very interesting as well, and not many corporate leaders would actually jump into it just for the simple reasons that we are all a logical driven guys, right? When you get into the corporate journey, we are all given by the are driven by the instructions, driven by the policies, driven by the way the companies work and the business work. However, in my case, from the being a trainee to an assistant vice president itself was a kind of a journey which was, I would say, is a very successful in the eyes of me at least, without comparing anybody else. The reason is the family that I come from, reaching to that height itself was a luxury kind of thing. Now, during this entire 17 years of corporate experience that I was going through, one thing which was bothering me a lot, and that was that despite having a lot of potential, my growth was limited. While I feel that I have reached to a certain place, from the public's eyes perspective, that oh, assistant vice president is a big deal, right? Now, internally, I was just fighting with myself that is it something which I really want? Is it something which is the limit that I am putting myself into? And there was a stagnancy factor which was actually shipping in to my mind, and that stagnancy was causing a lot of upheaval in my entire journey, because I was more driven by that factor call or kida called what is next, what is next, what is next. And what is next was not answered in my corporate journey. And I realized another aspect of my life is that I was only taking from the world. Since the birth of a child till they actually die, most of us end up having only the consumption, and I was not anything that I could actually be very proud of. I was not giving that to the society or a community or maybe a country for that matter. And I realized that what is the point of actually driving this entire journey when I'm only focused about 5 people, 6 people around my life who are my family members, and rest of the world go to hell. Why this attitude is coming to me, and that is what was actually bothering me. So when the trigger point came, in 17th years of my experience, I remember the May 2018 when my second son was born a month back, and I was called in the HR cabin, and I was told, Rakesh, that you're doing really well, you have such a big team. Unfortunately, you you are in a position where we do not have a future role for you. And that was a shock for me, given that I have put in my, obviously every one of us in the corporate leadership understand that you are putting your uh, soul, heart, and everything into it, right?
Okay.
And you're sacrificing a lot of your family time in order to actually serve your organizations and so on. At that point of time, I realized that what is the meaning of that entire journey when I had to face this very day, that despite having 17 years, if there is no guarantee of me being actually in the job, forget about the promotion or growth or anything, for me my own existence is questioned on that very day. And that is where the trigger point came, that I don't want to be in a race where my own existence is not even valued by the organization, and it is considered to be a just a headcount number on the roll. And that is where I think everything broke loose. What I had in my mind about my plan for the future by going into the corporate ladder, reaching to a certain height, all those things I have broken down. And then I realized that I need to first and foremost understand that what is wrong with me, because I can blame every one of them who were involved or participated in that process of, let's say, putting me in that situation. But ultimately, I was the only constant among those people. People kept changing, right? From corporate to corporate, the politics to politics, to leadership. People kept changing. The only constant in the entire journey was me. So why should I actually look at the people who were a part of the journey and not look at myself who was actually going through the journey? that was the point where I decided that I want to go in my self discovery journey, and I want to make sure that I reach to a level where my wealth, influence, and growth are not dependent on somebody else, and I take charge of my life rather than somebody else is playing my role. So that was the trigger point.
That's really, really great. Actually, it requires a lot of courage also. I don't know how was that journey. Definitely, it is not a simple thing to think. In a normal perspective. Definitely, it was wonderful. And after that, I know that, and for the betterment of the audience, let us say that what was that after that you have started this mentorship program for mid-career professionals. Actually, what was that selection? What was the base of that selection? Like, why mid-career professionals?
Sure. I think the trigger point which actually caused this entire journey is also for the fact that I was in the mid career, and I realized that all the professionals who actually pass through this phase of the life where they are acting as a sandwich, the sandwich between the top hierarchy and the bottom hierarchy, sandwich between the younger generation, their children, and the older generation, their parents, and they are getting squeezed from everywhere. And definitely they have a lot of own dreams, desires, which they actually sacrifice for the sake of the family, for the sake of the organizations, and so on. So honestly speaking, the mid-career professionals do not actually bother about themselves much. They are more or less focused about achieving the professional goals or the personal goals which are more linked to their family and the professional life, but not their own life. And which was bothering me in a way because when I was going through this journey, it was a very difficult time when I had six people to feed. I had more than 70 lakh rupees debt at that point of time. And definitely, I didn't have a job in my hand as well. So, when I went on to my self discovery journey, I realized that first and foremost, why I came to this juncture is because the people in the mid career do not get the understanding of the career life cycle, first and foremost. The second, I also realized that they do not have the uh, measure of their potential, that they can do it. Okay, that means what they are capable of. Third and the most important aspect of that mid-career life is most of us actually denote a very negative connotation with the mid-career. We call it as a mid-career crisis, and I want to call it as a mid-career celebration, because that
Okay,
mid-career celebration is full of possibilities, because by
okay,
that time you have already acquired a certain amount of experience, knowledge, skill, talent, expertise, and everything.
true.
Now it is a matter of how do you convert that into your success. Now that success could be defined by your own progress in the job, your leadership role, or your own business for that matter. It doesn't matter what it is, but at least you should realize that your potential is still intact, and only thing which is required is to rise above the average. So that's what triggered me to towards that mid-career people, and it became my mission for the life as well to empower 25 million mid-career professionals.
So, and precisely, if we want to say that the advice will be like to utilize the capacities, skills, talents, whatever it is there, to utilize that for the success. That would be your
Absolutely.
advice to the mid-career
Absolutely.
professionals. Fantastic. Uh, when it comes to sales professionals, I know that you got a chunk of mid-career professionals in your journey, and of course, you must have seen a lot of sales professionals as well. So, what would be your advice to mid-career sales professionals who are stuck or who are struggling? Like as you said, maybe it can be a celebration as well. But still, what would be your advice to those people?
Sure. On the sales profession, to be very honest, coming from a non sales background, it has helped me to understand that sales as a function really, really deep. And I realized that each and every professionals who are going through the corporate journey, they are in a way selling themselves to a certain point. However, most of us are very much having the negative bias with the sales. And the part of the reason is also with the kind of world that we are living in, where every now and then you get a pesky calls of credit card companies, this
Absolutely.
company, who
Yes.
are calling you and selling you something. So you have that negative bias about the sales per se, and that negative bias is actually playing in your mind when you are doing the sales as a function. To me, sales is a very holy function who which provides you an opportunity to persuade a people who actually need something for their own betterment. And salespeople are the people who are really making that happen, that transition, that persuasion, that transformation in a way to help either the B2B customer or a B2C customer. In nutshell, we are talking person to person. So in a nutshell, you are just helping other person achieve something in return of the money. That is the value that you are adding, and that is what I understand as a sales profession. So for the mid-career professional who are in the sales, I think the easiest thing to first do is have your mind clear in terms of what you are doing, and it's a holy profession. First and foremost, accept it and probably respect it that way. That is the one part. The second part, which I would definitely tell the sales professional in the mid career, is that please understand that you understanding the client is much more important than you understanding your products.
Can you come again, Rageshji?
Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
you understanding your client is
Okay.
much more important than you understanding your product.
Product.
Because if you understand your client well, you will be able to give them the right product. But if you do not
Absolutely.
understand that as a salesperson, then you are probably doing an injustice to the role that is given to you. Most of the salespeople, and it's a corporate culture that are driven by the number. In the business, definitely you have to be driven by the number, but at the end of it, you need to understand if the foundation of that entire sales process is only driven by the numbers, most of you will be blindly chasing the number instead of chasing the welfare of the client,
Yes. Okay.
right? So if
Mhm.
you have the foundation, which is a root made up of what is there for your client betterment, if that is the feeling, that is the emotion behind that entire process, let me tell you that sales will become very easy for you.
Very easy. Really being in sales profession, it is really glad and feeling proud to hear such words about sales, because most of the time, as you said, sales has been, picturized in a different way, which has got a lot of negative association in the society. It is
Absolutely.
true. So, you must have seen a lot of mid-career sales professionals, and being in that level, what would be your advice to the people who are starting their, profession, sales profession?
Yes.
So, what will be your
So
advice?
the people who are just starting in the sales, I have a simple advice, because most of us who are not into the sales, they have a different bias about the sales per se, right? And
Yes.
those who get the opportunity, let me tell you, this is an opportunity to understand the people, the product, the process, the promotion, and at the end of it, your own purpose in the way. The reason is
Yes.
I'm telling this is that as you go through the process, you are encountering more people and you are speaking to more people as a profession, which no other functions are actually doing it. You think about the marketing, manufacturing, operations, supply chain, any other functions that you take in the business,
Okay.
no function is actually facing the client and speaking to them to understand them. So that gives you the power in terms of the exposure which you are receiving. So first and foremost, respect that exposure, and at the same time make sure that you leverage that exposure to the next level. That is, every time you actually go out on a sales call, you should have this thing in mind that at the end of the day, am I actually only writing that what numbers have I achieved, or am I writing that what exposure and experience have I given to my client? If you can actually capture that, let me tell you that this will be a very fruitful journey for your entire life.
100%. No doubt on that, because this is what really a sales professional from the beginning itself they should believe in that, because so that what is happening is this will take them from the beginning itself, they will have a power to move that. Thank you so much for this wonderful explanation and advice for this new entry level sales professionals. And there is one other concept is there. I have been asked, I mean, few of the people used to ask, even when I was coming to sales, people used to tell me that don't go, you will stuck by 30, after 35 you will not be able to see any kind of the way, because it has got a lot of pressure, everything. Then at that time I was thinking that yes, I'm good at talking, I'm good at, that was my beliefs about sales at that time. And even now also I'm seeing a lot of people, when I'm suggesting a sales profession to somebody, people used to say that I don't have selling skills, I'm not a born salesman. What is your view on that word? I don't know whether you have listened to this word or not, like maybe born salesmanship, something called.
Absolutely. And in mid career and also in the early career, people have that feeling that they are not born salesmen. Now,
Yes,
some of the people have very extravagant confidence just by virtue of the communication. Please understand, the language communication is only one part of selling process. It is not
yes,
whole part of it. Correct.
yes, yes,
And the second thing which you need to understand, that sales is a skill. It is not a quality that you have, it is not a characteristic that you are born with, it's a skill. So any skill for that matter can be learned. And giving you the biggest example is myself, who has never done the sales. In fact, I was on the other side of the table where I have done procurement for my entire 18 years of journey. For me, coming to the terms with the sales process per se was the different transition altogether, because I had to understand what other side looks like. Now, if I had that understanding that, oh, salesmen are the born people, then I would never ever be able to create my empire that I am creating today. Right? I would never ever be able to impact thousands of mid-career professionals today. I would never ever able to create the growthpreneures that I am doing today. The reason is very, very simple, that the sales is a process of serving others in a way that you explain them that is in their benefit. That means you are able to articulate their problem in a better way. You are able to articulate the solution in a better way. And in the process, you have that intention to serve them. As long as that intention is there, I don't think that anybody requires this belief or assumption that they need to be the born salesman. They can all acquire the skill, which is a beautiful skill in the sales, which is about serving the people. If that intention is there, then this is easy.
And also, after the graduation or post graduation, in the market, of course, the highest number of opportunities will be in sales. And of course,
Sales.
most of the people, 90% above of the sales people, even today also, I believe they have not came by choice. They have came by chance only. So, but still, people are preferring, because after graduation, they would have some kind of dream in the past, and then they will stuck, and I want to join somewhere. So when they wanted to select some of the area, like I have selected pharmaceutical, there was no particular reason for that, but I got that opportunity. And also, of course, I have seen those people are, yeah, it is a good attractive job. That much was the only understanding for me. So but when in coming days, like after seeing this video at least, so to those people who are just completed the graduation, and how they can segregate their market, like whether they wanted to select FMCG or pharma, or how, what can we have any criteria for that? Is there any kind of this one according to you?
Yes. See, as a fresh graduate, if you really, really want to build a career in the sales itself, I would suggest that do a rigorous exposure in the first 5 years.
Okay.
Go to the market, meet the customers, and go in a different market, right from being selling the credit card in the market to actually selling the books in the market to selling the maybe a FMCG appliances in the market. It doesn't matter as long as you are getting the exposure.
Exposure,
In the
yes.
first 5 years, you are not looking for actually the expertise of the cell. You are looking for the foundation of the cells. And if you're looking for the foundation, that can only come by exposure and not by the experience. So if you are thinking that your communication is weak, oh, this company is not good, or this industry is not good, that is not the criteria. What is the criteria is that whether my exposure is actually giving me the experience to become a better person as a salesperson. If that is the criteria, then you can grow in any industry. Now, given a choice that 5 years of exposure is enough for people to actually understand that where do they stand in the market, and at the same time, they also understand that in a certain segment of the industry, they will fit in very well. So some people do not like to negotiate on a very small price items. So they may not be suitable for the maybe a complete FMCG kind of an environment where they have to sell from door to door, or maybe they have to sell to the local kirana shop and so on. That is one. But at the same time, they also have to understand in order to sell at the higher prices, you also need to have your skills observed and taken to the next level. If that is not done, then you dreaming of about going into the industry of FMCG to, let's say, an Apple kind of a salesperson, right? That is not going to happen. The transition requires a certain level of exposure and experience, and that is what should be aimed in the first 5 years.
So again, this was actually for the startup professionals, startup team. But again, there is one thing is still a big challenge or big fear factor in the for all the professionals, that about office politics. Even it is not yet defined, or one cannot define what exactly it is, as per my understanding, but they will tell that lot of politics. So what is your take on into that, like your opinion or your view on that?
Sure. And I teach my mid career professionals that the office politics per se is the word, right? Which has been invented by the people who really want to bring the politics into the office.
Okay.
Okay. So let me put it a very simple definition, which I learned from my friend in a very high position in one of the top company in India. And he said, right, Rakesh, office politics is nothing but a person's interpersonal ability to navigate through an organization.
Okay.
Office politics is nothing but a person's interpersonal ability to navigate through an organization.
Okay.
What it exactly mean is that person's interpersonal ability. Now, most of the people say a lot of office politics. I have been a victim of an office politics a lot of time in my own corporate journey. But
Yes.
what I realized that what was actually helping me is by staying in the game, not running away from it. Most of
Yes.
the people resist the change and run away from it. That is the reason they become the victim. If you stay in the game and play, you will always be on the winning side, not on the losing side. And that is where we need to understand. It doesn't mean you have to get into the favoritism biases, you have to get into the boss's blue-eyed boy, or you have to actually do the flattering and so on. What you can also do is you can actually create your own visibility through the value add that you're doing in the market. Most of the people fail in actually showcasing what value add they are doing and go with the flow in the office, and that's why they become the victim. Most of the people are failing to showcase what the real potential is. They are not rising above the average, and that's why they become the average.
It is not about nothing to do with office politics. It is all about getting into
Absolutely.
that. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah. So coming into this sales profession, and of course, it is because maybe I have interacted more with sales professionals, of course, and I am into sales. Maybe I am not aware of this, but of course, from the uh, beginning itself, I have been listening about this sales means pressure, sales pressure, work pressure. It is it is very high with related to sales, and of course it is there. So how one can handle in a better way, what can be the one or two simple steps to make it in a simple way?
Okay. So let me take it as a personal level, right? If you
Mm.
live a life, if you live a life by days planning, you will always be under the pressure. If you live a life by the week's planning, you will have some relaxation. If you live a life by months planning, you'll be able to see something happening, that is an achievement happening. But if you live a life by years planning, you will be able to see the significance as well. Most of the people in the cells living in the pressure because they are not joining the hips with the marketing. The function of the sales is to convert the leads which are generated by the marketing. Now, if you are both, let's say sales and marketing both, then you need to understand that your job is to first generate the lead and then convert it. It only means that your generation capacity rate has to be far, far higher than your conversion capacity. If your generation capacity is higher and your conversion capacity is low, let me tell you that you will not be under the pressure of actually creating the numbers. The reason is that if one customer decline, you will have to have a different lead which is available to you. Now, it is easier said than done, but those who are in the sales, they know how to generate the leads. It is not something which is kind of a skill which cannot be learned, right? So if you are generating the lead on a constant basis, instead of relying on that one customer phone call that he will convert one day and my sales target will happen for the rest of the 6 months, that is when you are going wrong, and that's what put it the pressure as well. Now there could be a fast moving cells or a slow moving cells, like a B2B cells are a slow moving cells, whereas a B2C is more or less a fast moving. Now in both the scenario of B2B and B2C, the process remains same: lead generations and conversion. Now if you are not even trying for that lead generation by joining the hands with the marketing or doing the marketing, then you will always be under pressure, because then you are just planning by the day, week, or month and not by the year.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes. So I was about to ask about this rejection part. Sales people are facing, it is really required a very resilient kind of mindset. It has to be built up. And of course, from entry level, it will be very difficult. Of course, it is not easy for the people who are in sales actually, but for the survival part or some other reason, they will develop that automatically. But can we, is there any hack to come with a high resilient? I mean, it has to be exposed, I'm sure, but still, is there anything else can be added into that?
Absolutely. So resilience is a function of your mind's clarity about what that rejection is for. Is it the rejection for a product? Is it the rejection of the process? Is it the rejection of understanding the client requirement? Is it a rejection of a person as a whole? most of the people take the rejection to the heart and say that, oh, I am the only culprit in this world, which is why this thing that it doesn't happen. Now, why wouldn't you actually go back to your drawing board and analyze whether it is a product, it is a pricing, it is a promotion, it is a place, is it a requirement, is it a process that I have gone through, are actually culprit of this entire rejection process, instead of putting the blame on yourself. Second aspect of this, a mental fortitude that the salespeople in the process are not developing. The mental toughness which is required in the sales process is lowering down your expectations with the sales itself, that every client needs to be converted. That is the expectation with which every salesman go into the market. While this hope and optimism is really good, but please understand that not every client is meant to be associated with you as well. Correct? So you need to understand that when you are getting rejected or your product is getting rejected, have you deep dive into the client's psyche and the mind and the requirement enough to understand that you have fulfilled all the criteria? So whether that product is right for them, is it the right time, is it the right price? Now, if these three are not even answered and you're pushing yourselves just because you have to sell, then you are bound to get the rejection and you call yourself as rejected of this call. So these two factors really play a very big role in accepting the rejection and while creating that mental toughness in the process.
This is actually maybe as I was just saying about the people would have created or developed such kind of resilience. Maybe these people may be knowing, but this thing structurizing this particular thing is that is what is missing. So now you have placed it very well. Thank you so much for that. And then it is already a lot of time has been taken. And just one more question I would like to ask you, which is actually I have seen a lot of mentees of you have been giving good feedback, and of course, that now most of the almost all corporates have got their corporate trainings, and you are also into that kind of a training or mentorship program. How would you differentiate that? Because one corporate wants sales, okay, whether if it is sales or one person, they want the people to develop. Okay, that is what is HR and all so called is meant for. So how would you differentiate between this corporate training and personal mentorship programs kind of things? What would be the difference?
Absolutely. So I'm not into the corporate training as such for now, and I'm not either against it or for it. The reason is very very simple. Please understand that corporate structure works in the very defined timeline. So they work by the schedule of the training and not by the requirement of a person's capabilities.
Schedule of the
Okay.
training. Okay, not
Yeah.
yes, yes,
So
okay.
HR has a fixed schedule that in this levels of the managers, senior managers, or the assistant manager, I need to impart 30 hours of training in a year. Now I will schedule it this 30 hours by so and so time frame during the entire year based on the availability of my trainer and not based on the requirement of the people who are undergoing that training. That is the biggest flaw I see in the corporate training requirement. Now, when it comes to the personal mentoring, please also understand that the corporate training are more or less related to the information imparting and more or less a knowledge driven training. So let's say you are in the sales, so you would be giving the sales knowledge to the people that this is how you need to prospect the customer, this is how you need to communicate with the customer, this is how you need to close it. So you would be doing the knowledge sharing session. What we are not doing in the corporate session is that there is a follow-up mechanism is missing. The follow-up mechanism at the most is considered to be only a knowledge check. The knowledge check we were already doing for the 15 years since the childhood in our schooling years. Every quarterly exam was a knowledge check, your memory test, right? And that memory test we have already passed. Now, why would we actually go into that era again and go through that knowledge check test? Instead of that, the personal mentoring or the transformation that people are looking for is not information driven, it is a transformation driven. That is, if you go through a longer period of time with somebody who is guiding path for you, who will be actually holding your hand and telling you that this is the place where you're going wrong, this is the place we are going right, this is the direction you should be working and putting in your efforts, that will give a better leverage to that person in actually taking him to the next level. Ultimately, the intention of both the things are same, that your person should be developed in the intellectual capability, in emotional capability, in terms of dealing with the people, right? But at the same time, what we do in the corporate is a fixed schedule kind of information driven the modules, whereas in the personal mentoring transformation training kind of situation, unless you are doing an information training, you would be going through the transformation, because your information is converted into a knowledge, into a wisdom for your particular scenario, experience and exposure, and also for the insights that you develop through this session, through this association with the mentors. So that is what is more critical in the development of people.
So you have very clearly explained this one as well, and I'm sure that this was really, lot of values and lot of, all these things. Why I was asking, because these are all questions are there in the people's mind, and which has to be explained in a way, because maybe all these questions will not be available in one platform anywhere. It will be maybe available in, if I go to your website or your channel or wherever it is, may be available. But since these are all things which I was exposing it in a regular way, that's why I thought of making this. And you have really explained it very well. And thank you so much for that, your time
Thank you
and
very much, Sumesh.
this one support.
It's my honor and privilege to be on your show, and I'm sure you will do well in your
Yes,
pursuit of success, which you are trying to transform the salespeople. And I'm
yes, yes,
hoping that by the next year, let's have you as a change agent and the catalyst to drive the sales process in the
yes.
country as well.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for these words. Let it come true. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rakesh ji.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Bye then.